All right, guys, the Utah Jazz lose to the San Antonio Spurs. This is the Utah Jazz postgame show on the Hoops Nerd channel. Really tough night for the Utah Jazz. Could not find a way to score and could not find a way to get stops. And really, when you watch this game, if you go rewatch it, I promise what you'll see is that the Spurs are still a very well-coached team with talent that on any night can win a basketball game. They just beat the Lakers and LeBron. They came in tonight and played fantastic defense against Utah. Like, the Jazz couldn't find a way to score, and a lot of what happened tonight is the Jazz couldn't hit their threes. The Jazz shot, 31% from three tonight, and that's just not really going to cut it if you're playing a good team like the Spurs who's good on defense, makes things tough at the rim. That was partly the Jazz and partly the Spurs. The first half was mostly the Jazz. They had some nice shots, and they just weren't making them. And that's what beat the Spurs the last time they played. The Jazz just hit 60% of their threes. And so tonight was probably a little more of what this matchup really is. The Jazz have some flaws on the team that really can't be fixed until trade deadline. They have two starting lineups tonight. They went with the lineup they went against the Spurs with last time with Rudy Gobert and Derek Favors. It worked last time. They got a nice start. Tonight, the Jazz just couldn't score, and the game was like 4-4 forever because both teams struggled to score. And then it eventually just kind of fizzled out. The Jazz didn't really create any sort of advantage with that. Like they did last time, and most of that was just the fact that they shot 31% from three tonight. You got to give a lot of credit to the Spurs, though. The Spurs played fantastic defense. Rudy Gay was a monster tonight, and so that matchup didn't really work. I don't know, and we've talked about this a lot. Start Derek Favors or start Jay Crowder. I like starting Jay Crowder just because it seems to create a little more spacing. Things seem to flow a little bit better. Tonight, though, Rudy Gay was just a monster. I don't know. Jay Crowder starts or Derek Favors starts. I don't know who really gets him to slow down because tonight Gay had 23 points and 15 rebounds. He was just a monster. Sometimes you just lose. Sometimes you lose to teams like the Spurs because they are well coached by one of the greatest coaches of all time, if not the greatest coach of all time, and they just beat you. That happens sometimes. Some nights you have bad shooting nights, and that's the thing. I like seeing Jay Crowder start because I feel like it creates more spacing. The offense is just better that way. Other players on the team just seem to play better. But Crowder's not hitting his threes at a very high rate. He's hitting, 31% this season? Tonight, Jay Crowder shot 0 for 4 from three. That's hard to overcome. So there's not a huge argument like Derek Favors Jay Crowder tonight. Rudy Gay was the better player than our power forwards, and that's why we lost. That's tough. Also, Bryn Forbes, just a nice player. The Spurs just find nice players, and the Spurs are doing this without Pau Gasol, DeJounte Murray. It's just the Spurs are well coached. They're just death taxes. Spurs winning basketball games. That's just always what it's going to be. Utah had a really nice game from Ricky Rubio. I do want to go back. I'm going to watch some of the defense because I have a sinking feeling that it wasn't very good. Donovan Mitchell had an incredible second half of the game, but the first half couldn't hit a shot. And, that's one of the things this team needs more than anything, honestly, is just some consistency. Can this team stop winning games by 35 points and then losing games by 35 points or 50 points? Tonight the Jazz lost, but at least it was just a reasonable loss. It was a 13-point loss, It wasn't a 40-point loss. It wasn't a 40-point victory, which I like 40-point victories, don't get me wrong, but at least it was just the Jazz were in this. There was a point where the Spurs were up by 21 or something like that, and I was kind of curious to see how the Jazz would react to that. And it was nice to see the Jazz get back in it. They didn't win the game. They brought it within 5, but the Spurs pulled away. It was nice to see the Jazz at least fight back and get back in this game. That's as good a sign as anything because there's been 2 or 3 games this year where it was that team got up by 20 and the Jazz didn't care and it was a 35-point loss. Not tonight. So at least that's something to be excited about. Donovan Mitchell had a nice second half. Hopefully he can carry that into the next game. Joe Ingles also had a very low impact game. I mean, he actually was a positive 7. Joe Ingles is crazy. He's always positive. Plus 7 in a game the Jazz lost by 13. So what does that tell you? But 5 points. The Jazz really could have used more shooting from Joe, more corner threes and stuff, and that might not be his fault. The Jazz have a spacing issue. One of these times we got to do a video. Jazz got to trade for Kevin Love. It's going to happen. Sorry, just going to throw that here at the end for all the people watching this show. I don't have fans. I have people who watch my show. Anyways, guys, like and subscribe the channel and this video because that's what we do. We like and subscribe the things we watch, right? That's what we do in this day and age. Talk to you later.